All right, hey you guys, and welcome to Taking Flight with me, Mike Rocket Blackstone. Now today I'm going to be talking to you about a little bit of the history, what I've been going through with my company Air Combat USA since 2016. And this has been an ongoing saga with the city of Fullerton that has literally threatened the survival of our company. For those of you who don't know what Air Combat USA is, I'm going to give you a little bit of a background. I'm not going to take you back too far, so bear with me here. But Air Combat USA has been in business at the city of Fullerton since 1987 and has been operating there literally for 34 years. We've flown thousands and thousands of people out of the city of Fullerton, bringing jobs, fuel, maintenance, tons of great press for the city of Fullerton. We've been on many shows, from Top Gear UK to Hell's Kitchen, you name it, hundreds of shows bringing notoriety and business to the city of Fullerton and the local Southern California area. I've been involved with Air Combat USA since the very beginning. My dad and I were flying airplanes together all the way back, and I learned to fly in a Marchetti as a 15-year-old boy at Fullerton Airport. Growing up in Fullerton, my dad owning Air Combat, I became involved in the company early on and was taught to fly in the Marchetti, soloed in this thing in 1990-ish, and began flying for my dad as an instructor pilot at Air Combat USA, teaching air-to-air combat as taught by the fighter pilots from Top Gun, literally down in Miramar for many years. And those guys taught me everything I know about flying, so thank you to the older pilots that were involved with Air Combat USA early on. I appreciate you teaching me your craft. Thank you. As far as the business goes, success has been blessed upon us. We flew 100,000 missions at this company in many cities nationwide, and bringing the joy of flying airplanes to the masses. Literally, anybody who ever dreamed of becoming a fighter pilot after watching the original movie Top Gun, my dad made that happen. And with his incredible ingenuity, his bravery, his beautiful passion for aviation that he wanted to share with the world, he created this incredible company called Air Combat. Well, my dad got sick in 2015. He got cancer, and he passed away on August 19th of 2015. From that point forward, the outcome of this company, the survival of this company really hinged upon me. And I took this very personally and very seriously. And when my dad passed away and left my sister and I in charge of his life's work, literally in our hands as the successors, as the executors of his life's work in Air Combat, my sister and I were charged with this huge responsibility to take care of this company and to protect it and to help it grow and prosper. Now, I have a timeline here that breaks down this time from when my dad got sick all the way up until Air Combat USA was evicted from the city of Fullerton wrongly in 2017. And I'm going to go through a couple of these items with you, literally item by item. And each of these points on this timeline was presented in court during trial in 2020, and our attorneys showed the evidence. So there is not only the point of what had happened here, but actually the cross-reference to what piece of evidence supports that. So going back to this timeline here, it says a 35-year lease, key events. The very first thing that happened, August 19th, 2015, my father, Michael E. Blackstone, passed away. But this is all based upon a lease that took place beginning in 2011 and was a 35-year lease. Like, this isn't just a month-to-month situation. This is a seriously long-term lease. And it shows on this timeline that we signed the lease June, it says June 1st, but approximately June of 2011. We know that to be true because it was recorded on the 31st of May, so it had to be somewhere active around the 1st of June of 2011. Now, for those of you that don't know much about contracts and legal jargon, in a contract, there's several different dates that become important. In this case, the effective date is the date that the contract was signed. In other words, everybody agreed as to what the contract was, how it's going to affect each other, what the terms are, and that everyone is happy with what this actual contract is. And I'm going to post a link to the actual contract so you can read this thing for yourself and decide whether or not you believe that what had happened was according to the lease. The next thing that happened is Air Combat USA moves into this property. And the current tenant at that time was Orange County Fire Authority. They were actually the tenant in control of the property before Air Combat, and they needed to move to another location, which they had to wait till the building got built first before they could move. So they moved most of their stuff out to their new location, but they had left a Huey helicopter. Now, for those of you that know what a Huey helicopter is, this is a Vietnam-era helicopter. It's a UH-1. This Huey helicopter was used by the Orange County Fire Authority as a training platform to practice hoisting. So it's essentially up on top of a platform. I'll show you a picture of this thing. We'll post that for you as well. It's up on a platform. It weighs approximately 5 tons, like maybe 10,000 pounds. And it's simulating a helicopter in a hover so that they can practice their hoisting up and down, like recovering a fallen hiker in the forest that breaks his leg. They're going to send a helicopter in and then hoist you out of a mountainous terrain, for example. That's what you would use the Huey for. This is a Huey hoist simulator on the property located at 3815 West Commonwealth, where Air Combat was located, and it's a huge piece of equipment. Orange County Fire Authority moved off the property and moved to their new location except for this piece. Now, why didn't they take this piece of property, which is valued probably somewhere in the $250,000 to $350,000 range? It's literally a flyable flying hull of a helicopter. There's no engine in it now, or hasn't been for years, but it's a flyable hull of a UH-1 so that you could use it as a simulator, as a mock-up, right? But still could put the engine in it one day, put the avionics back in it, and possibly fly this hull. So it's clearly worth a lot of money as a multi-million-dollar jet-powered, Huey helicopter. It's valuable. And the tower that it's standing on is custom built, and it weighs tons, and it's going to require a crane and a permit to move it. So it's a big deal, and it requires months of preparation in order to set up the new location, create a new platform for it, and come over with the crane and move this helicopter to a new location on the other side of the field and set it up and do it. We all agreed that it was going to take months to do that, and it did. So Air Combat takes possession of the property in March, approximately, of 2011, and begins to renovate a certain part of this, the main bay of the main hangar and the office space, which was a wreck. This building was a teardown, essentially. It was dilapidated, and it was built in the 60s. It was in terrible condition, unsuitable for any public use. So Air Combat drafted and got plans together and created a build-out that would replicate and look like the deck of an aircraft carrier, so that when you came into the building, you almost looked like, hey, I'm on an aircraft carrier. There's a railing, and it kind of overlooks, and the building popped out kind of like angled forward so that the glass was angled like on the side of an aircraft carrier bridge. It was really cool. So we spent a lot of time and money planning this thing and spent at least $100,000 building this thing out. Now, it wasn't permitted, okay? So it never got recorded with the city that it's a permitted structure. We all know it wasn't permitted. The building was a tear down. So at some point, we all realized that we're probably going to knock this building down and start over with a much bigger facility. If and when that day came, we would do that. And at that point, you'd get a full permitting and do a nicer, better location. But this was actually just a temporary setup to keep it nice while we used the building or in the worst case scenario, for the 35 years that we have remaining, to spend this $100,000 and then have a place to operate for the 35-year lease term that we had negotiated with the city in 2011. So now we're in the building, fixing it up, spending a lot of time, a lot of money, getting this thing going. And you can see that on the timeline, the next thing that happens is, so we're in there March, April, May, June, and July 1st comes along here, and OCFA's UH-1 helicopter is removed by the crane, and we have a photograph of it from my dad's computer, which he took with his iPhone back in 2011 while this thing is being hoisted and moved. And we got a still photo of it. We got several shots of it, but that was the photo that had the date on it that helped us know that that was the day that the Orange County Fire Authority came to remove its final piece of property that they wanted, of course. That turns into Exhibit 153 from the court case. We'll cross-reference that for you down in the folder below. We're going to list all of these documents in case you're interested in seeing them. All right, so then we move on to determining when this lease was going to. Now we know the actual vacate date of this property. The lease reads that the lease shall commence on the first day of the next month, 3 months after the OCFA vacates the property. I think, my God, who would have thought of a term like that? Well, here's why they did it. They figured it would take a few months to get the permitting to move the helicopter. So if they call this move-out date, this vacate date, July 1st, we're going to give you 3 extra months because we kind of took 3 months from you at this end. We're going to give you 3 extra months to make up for the 3 months it took us to get the helicopter out of the way. So that made sense. So they created a window for that. So on July 1st, then you add 3 months. August, September, October 1st. And literally, if you take the letter of the contract exactly as it reads, it would say the first day of the next month, 3 months after, which could have been construed as late as November 1st. But because it happened exactly on July 1st, we gave them the benefit of the doubt. It could be no sooner than October 1st. But if you took it exactly like the lease said, it would actually be November. Kind of an interesting point. October was certainly enough time to prove that the city breached our contract early. But it looked to me like it almost could have been November as well. Maybe you think the same. Put your comments in the section below. All right. So they determined that the earliest lease commencement date could be no sooner than October 1st, 2011. And the airport put it into their cheat sheet. They called this thing the cheat sheet. I don't know if you ever, what an appropriate name for a piece of paper that shows all of the leases and, which the Anaheim PD, when their lease expires, when the OCFA's new lease expires, when Air Combat's lease expires. So he's got quite a few people to keep track of. So they had this cheat sheet to keep track of in a quick format of whose lease expires when. And of course, they validated that and verified the appropriate date. Before you put it on the cheat sheet, you most likely have confirmed it with the city attorney, and they verify that, hey, Air Combat's lease is October 1st, and it was. So the airport manager in 2015, actually Brendan O'Reilly becomes an employee at Fullerton Airport in 2013, if I recall correctly. Brendan O'Reilly comes to the airport at Fullerton, taking over the spot from the guy that we originally rented it from, which was Rod Probst. And he's looking at this cheat sheet and doesn't know why the lease says June 2011 and the cheat sheet shows October. So being the smart people that we are, we look at a lease and we'd say, it says June, it should expire in June 35 years later. Why does it end and start and end on this October date? He was confused. So he smartly, I think give him some credit for this, contacts the city attorney with an email, and we have a copy of that email here for you to review. Contacts the city attorney and talks to this lady named Ivy Sy, an attorney for Jones and Mayer in Fullerton. That's their in-house attorney firm, law firm that writes their leases. Dick Jones wrote the lease. He signed our lease. They draft leases, they sign them, they create them, they check them for form, they build leases for the city of Fullerton, and they defend leases, apparently, for the city of Fullerton. They are also not only the drafter of this lease, they defended this lease. I kind of find that to be maybe a little conflict of interest. Maybe they should have not defended the lease that they wrote, instructed the city to breach, give them the information that they need, and then defend it to the death here all the way to the appellate level. I find it to be slightly conflict of interest here. But in any event, the airport manager does in fact contact Miss Tsai to find out what the expiration date is of this lease and asks her. But just before that, that was March 22nd, 2016. The item before that, like all these things kind of happen in a progression. So let's stick with the progression here. O'Reilly emails Air Combat USA regarding the lease renewal on March 17, 2016. It's Exhibit 5. We'll show that to you down below. But then O'Reilly asked the city attorney, Ivy Tsai, the actual expiration date. He's asking her in an email, why October 1st? And she carefully breaks down the term of the lease. We were waiting for OCFA to vacate, and they left on July 1st. We have a helicopter. We knew about it. She didn't mention the helicopter, but she knew that it was October 1st, and she knew why, and she deciphered the lease. She gave him her legal opinion on this thing, and he said, okay. Brendan O'Reilly, Ivy Tsai responds to O'Reilly. The expiration date is October 1st, 2016. He asked her on the 22nd. It took her 2 days. March 24th, 2016, she replies. All those are in Exhibit 5. You can see them down below. The next day, March 25th, 2016, O'Reilly emails Denise Jennings. Now, Denise Jennings is an employee of Air Combat USA, and she was my dad's girlfriend. O'Reilly emails Denise Jennings on March 25th, 2016, letting her know that the lease expires on October 1st, 2016, and that the city attorney, Ivy Tsai, confirmed this. And I'll let you read it. Basically, it says something like, we have more time. It's not as critical as I thought. It's not June, it's October. So he's letting her know, I didn't know this. I wasn't privy to this at all at this point. This was an internal communication between the airport manager and one of my employees, my dad's girlfriend at that time. So March 25th rolls around, and then some time goes by, and court cases are happening. And during this time, my uncle, Larry, who was an employee of my father as well at the time, and Denise Jennings, also an employee, and our cousin, Joy Larson, and his daughter, Larry's daughter, Cindy Lee, all were knowing about its impending lease expiration. Do not tell me anything about it, of course, but we're in court, and what's happening at this time is the family is trying to wrangle the business away from me and my sister. Why would they want to do this? It is an amazing business. It is a wonderful business. It's a family business. We've been flying airplanes for 30 years. It's a very special business. In my mind, this is like the Disneyland of aviation. It's incredible. So they see the value of the business. They're apparently trying to figure out a way to keep it for themselves. All this time, I'm getting nervous because I know the lease is coming up, and I make my first attempt on May 11th, up here you can see now, May 11th, 2016, the first attempt to exercise the option to extend the lease at O'Reilly's office. Myself and my now wife, Veronica, went to O'Reilly's office, and that is actually in the exhibits. Up here it says, I don't know, page 46. We'll put a link to it down there. But basically, we went to O'Reilly's office and said, hey, Brendan, we're here to exercise our lease. You know, I know that you might think there's a little bit of contention between the parties here. We're here to act on behalf of Air Combat USA. We want to extend our lease. What do we need to do so? And he says, oh yeah, and that's not really gonna happen. And you know, we're gonna wait till the dust settles and you'll always have a home here. There's plenty of time, yada, yada. So blows us off. And I'm like, God, that didn't really sound that great. I'm not sure why he's telling us we have more time. Maybe we do. I'm looking at the lease. I'm seeing the same thing with this June thing. It doesn't ever say October in the lease itself. It's on the cheat sheet, which he has. Denise knows, I don't. And he kind of thinks that maybe I don't know the actual expiration, which I don't at this point. Okay? June 3rd, 2016, a second attempt. I'm getting nervous now. I see the June date on this thing and it's making me really nervous. I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking, it doesn't say June 1, it could be June 30. So there I am on June 3rd thinking I have until the end of June now to renew this thing. So I make a second attempt to exercise the option to extend the lease at O'Reilly's office. Again, Veronica and I go back to his office during business hours, and O'Reilly then refuses to our request, saying, let's hold on till the dust settles. Like, really? Dust settling? What are you talking about? There's no dust to settle. I'm in a position to make this decision. I'm the executor of the trust. I own this company. And I'm acting on behalf of Air Combat USA. Let's extend this lease. Let's get this out of the way. I want to make sure that we're protected. I want to protect the company so it has a place to operate from now until 30 plus years from now. He tells me, let's hold on till the dust settles. Don't worry, Air Combat USA will always have a home here, is what he told me on that attempt on June 3rd, 2016. Trying to make me feel a little better. I guess it sort of worked a little bit. June 10th, 2016, I'm at the office in Air Combat USA, and then I find a letter from the city of Fullerton regarding a CPI, Consumer Price Index, adjustment to take effect July 1st, 2016. I see this CPI index, and I question it, and I read it, and I'd be happy to show you Exhibit 6. You could see what it says. It's a little confusing. It says, hey, your lease is about to have a price, or your rent is about to have a price increase effective on July 1st. The price of your rent is going to go up. I said, oh, that's interesting. If it's going to go up on July 1st, it must still be active. The lease is still in effect. So I made a note of that, and I then went to court, right? So June 16th, 2016, there was a court hearing down in Santa Ana. And on June 16, 2016, the probate court orders me, Michael J. Blackstone, as the executor of my dad's trust, to take control of Air Combat USA. They said all power, all assets, and ordered me to take control of my dad's company. And I made the call to O'Reilly that day. I said, hey, Brendan, the court just affirmed that I am in fact the owner and full control executor of my dad's trust. All power, all assets has been awarded. This is it. This is over. I'm in control of this thing, and I need your help to get this lease extended. Again, denied. June 16th, it takes place, and that day, the employees of Air Combat USA all walked out. That was the day, we call it the Hangar Heist. June 16, 2016, around 10 a.m., the court orders this. By the time I drive by the airport around noon or 1, my attorney said, do not go by the airport. It's too dangerous. There's something could be brewing there. Be careful. I drive by the opposite side of the airport and take pictures of the employees of Air Combat USA emptying the building and robbing my sister and I and the owners of the company completely blind, right? So all the vans are pulled up there and this place is the building's getting emptied. I call the police. By the time the police get there, lo and behold, the skid marks are peeling away from the hangar bay, and everything of any value that we would need to operate this business is now gone in a dust of smoke, cloud of smoke. All right. I called the airport manager, let him know what's happened, and he's like, I'm not your employee. If you think there's a problem, you call the police. I did. By the time they got there, again, you can kind of see where that went, not far. I put 2 and 2 together, and June 17, I come in and ask all of the employees to please work with me. Let's save this company. Let's rebuild. Let's find common ground. Let's make this the greatest air combat that it could have ever been. Please stay. Let's make it happen. I don't know what happened yesterday on 16th. You might have lost your mind a little bit. Let's pull it together. Let's make a pact. Let's fix this company and do it. And each one at a time, told me, no, 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 no way. We're not going to do that. They all quit on June 17th. Well, 16th, I think they decided. June 17th, they told me to my face, we're not coming back. And essentially did a mutiny, a walkout. This was pretty devastating. This was a pretty big blow. June 23rd, I realized that it's Lawrence Blackstone behind this. So my dad's brother is involved in this thing, and he's obviously coordinating this. I send him an official termination letter on that day. I've got Exhibit 240. I fired Larry Blackstone on June 24th. I'm sorry, June 23rd, excuse me. June 24th is the day that I called on that CPI letter that I found in the office a few days prior, from June 10th, and I texted O'Reilly. I said, hey, Brendan, the CPI increase letter from the city dated June 10th, 2016 says that the lease is still in effect. Please explain. He says, disregard that letter. Your lease is up in June 2016. That's Exhibit 38, a text message from O'Reilly to me. This point, he's telling me he will not renew the lease. Interestingly, a day after I fired my uncle. Looking back on this now, it became apparent to me now that my uncle was orchestrating a takeover of this company. He recruited the airport manager to join his coup to get rid of me. And after he was fired, Plan B went into effect, which was destroy the company, sink this ship. Get rid of the lease. Without the lease, this company can't survive. And the airport manager in the city of Fullerton jumped on board with this operation and fully deployed a sink the air combat ship with all torpedoes into the side of the hull here and cause us to lose our lease. June 24th was the beginning of that. June 30th, I made a fourth attempt. June 30, I went a fourth attempt to exercise the option to extend the lease back to O'Reilly's office with Veronica once again. O'Reilly refuses, saying it's too late. The lease has already expired. But it hadn't. So if you look down here in the timeline, you got all this green down here from March all the way to right at the beginning of August. Because really, we now know that this lease expires October 1st. So we had until 60 days from the end of the lease's window to extend for 30 more. Not to create a new lease, not to renegotiate anything, but literally, we had until August 1st to let the city know and Brendan O'Reilly know that we wished to extend the lease for 30 more years. And we had already by this point done that 4 times. In person, letting him know how important it was that we renewed this lease. Each time telling us, plenty of time, plenty of time, plenty of time. June 24th, too late. It's expired. He waited until they were sure that I had control of the company before he pulled this. That's how I know that O'Reilly was involved in the coup against air combat to bring it down. Now we are all the way up to July 13, 2016. O'Reilly informs Jim Crane that the lease expires in September. Now, Jim Crane is the building inspector. He's going to come down and take a look at the building and see if there's anything that could be added to the building that would make it harder for air combat to try to hang on to it, such as, hey, is this thing rigged up for earthquakes? Is it rigged up for ADA? I mean, I know that things were not the same in 1960, so let's try to find a few more grenades, a few more landmines for air combat to make it harder for them to want us to try to stay here, right? So he calls Jim Crane and lets them know that the lease expires in September. So not even October, he's thinking it expires in September now, but maybe the end of September is what he meant. letting him know that he knows it's October again, after he told me it's already expired just a few days before here in June 30. Now, August 1st does finally roll around. This is the final day. So the final day to exercise the option to extend the lease using the October 1st, 2016 expiration date is finally here. So that actually is the date. And then on August 3rd, 3 days or 2 days after that, we received a current rental valuation from Bus Schegler Associates. O'Reilly hired a company to come in and try to evaluate the property's rental value based on, we'll publish this thing so you can see the Bus Schegler appraisal of where they pulled these numbers from. They were up in Santa Barbara. They pulled one from the most expensive places possible, somewhere out in, I can't remember what it was, Ontario Airport, picked some crazy big airports and came up with a potential lease value of this property that Air Combat was at to be $6,340 a month, which was approximately 4 or 5 times what Air Combat was paying, to try to scare us off. So they send us this thing, say, hey, you know what? This thing's big. We know you can't afford $6,340 a month. Good luck. Here's the paperwork we have to support that. I saw it and filed it. I stowed it for future reference. Now we're creeping into October 1st, finally does come. The lease expiration date of October 1st, 2016. Now the airport manager begins going down the road of eviction. We end up dropping into a month-to-month tenancy at that point, and I don't know if our first letter of termination notice shows up that we were month-to-month. April 11th, 2017, we ended up with like 16 eviction notices. Each of them more and more strong languaged, one of which O'Reilly actually asked for our final rent check to be made out to him personally on City of Fullerton letterhead. Make that check out to Brendan O'Reilly, airport manager. Like, oh really? We shouldn't make the final rent check to the City of Fullerton? You want that personally? That's a little suspect. I never did send that check to him. I probably should have. May 23rd, 2017, O'Reilly letter to Blackstone. Exhibit 20, you're going to love this one. This is where he really lays into me. Something to the effect of, the airport is under no obligation to renew your lease. Although you figured you were entitled to the hangar, you are not, and we don't need a reason to evict you. Goes on and on. Take a look at this thing. It even shows that we were there in June trying to renew your lease. Sorry, you didn't cut it, and nuked us. July 19, 2017, another termination notice received on ACUSA lease. And then finally, August 31st, 2017, Air Combat USA is evicted. We finally were forced out of our premises after have been on the Fullerton Airport for over 30 years, had a 30-year lease remaining, no place to go. Air Combat USA is forced off the property to wherever they could find a place, wherever we could find a place to park airplanes. I had airplanes in Chino, staying at a friend's giant hangar, the Lockheed hangars at Chino Airport. Ended up renting another hangar at Chino. I've got another hangar over at Brackett. I ended up having airplanes and hangars all over the Southland trying to get these airplanes protected and safe, which cost thousands and thousands of dollars to do this. I've been hanging on for 7 years, and this has been literally the most challenging experience of my life. Now, I'm not asking for your sympathy here. What I am asking you is to just simply understand what has happened. This occurred on public land over a public use airport with a company that's been operating there for decades with never missed a rent payment, literally. We brought nothing but great value and goodwill to the city of Fullerton for all these years. 2 guys, my dad and myself, loving aviation and sharing aviation with the world. That's what we did. Why this all had to take place, I have no idea. Other than the usual money, greed, power, I'm not sure. Revenge, I don't know. I don't know how far, would you be revengeful or spiteful over somebody's success, maybe? That could have happened here. I don't know, but I've done my best to defend Air Combat USA at all cost. I've flown thousands of flights over the years for Air Combat, literally. Every dollar that I've made in the last 7 years has gone to pay for this court case, which seemingly is going on forever. The city of Fullerton lost the case. This actually was presented in front of a jury in 2020. And the jury, after hearing this, ruled in our favor with a unanimous verdict. Started off with 12 jurors. Several of them got sick or decided COVID was too much for them and they didn't come back. We ended up down to 9. I don't know if you know, but if you go from 12 to 9 jurors, your odds of winning do not go up. You need to have more percentage of the people to be on your side with 9 than you would at 12 even. So we needed 7 out of 9 in order to win instead of 8 out of 12, whatever it is. So it did not get easier. We still ended up with a unanimous verdict in our favor over this. The airport manager clearly lied, clearly misrepresented the city, clearly tried to deceive me and did, clearly joined a coup with my uncle and tried to bring Air Combat USA down and was successful at removing us from the city of Fullerton, pushing us into a very, very challenging and miserable 6 or 7 years of battle, which is continuing on to this day. I hope this makes it a little bit more clear for you as you look at our case, which is now at the appellate level. We're now waiting for the Court of Appeals to decide what the verdict is on our case. We are requesting from the Court of Appeals to not only give us damages, and I'm not asking for monetary damages so I can retire early. We're asking for monetary damages for the damages of what the city of Fullerton has cost us in lost revenue, moving costs, all of the pain and suffering of what this was to literally uproot a 30-year business and move it all over the place and try to survive that and then try to move it back. It's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages for sure. If you've been down this road, you know what I'm talking about. We're asking the Court of Appeals to literally give us a chance to save this company. And we're asking the Court of Appeal to honor the specific performance of our hangar. In other words, give us our hangar back. We worked hard for that hangar. We worked hard for the city of Fullerton. We brought nothing but good value to the city of Fullerton. We bring jobs and amazing service, to Fullerton, Southland, and the world, really. Flying people from all over the world out of the Fullerton Airport. We've done that for many, many years. I want the opportunity to do that again. The Court of Appeals has the authority to order specific performance be awarded to us. I pray that they do that for us. We are doing that in exchange for foregoing future damages that were awarded to us by the jury. And they broke it into 2 pieces. Pre-breach damages, like move out damages, and post. So up to the day of, so basically from June 2016 all the way up to 2017 in basically August of 2017 when we were finally evicted, that window, what that cost to move this company out, and the future damages of what it's going to cost for this company to survive for the next 30 years. The future damages equated to $500,000, which is a lot of money, don't get me wrong. But if you take $500,000 and divide it by 30 years and turn it into a monthly expense, really all they're giving us is the rent back. That equates to literally the rent back from the hangar for 30 years. So it's like $1,500 or $1,600 a month for 30 years. I think we could have done better than that by just flying the flights and gaining access to that hangar again and flying the missions. I can do better than $1,600 a month in business and value for the world. We're not asking for the money. We want the hangar. And I think we're entitled to the hangar. It seems a fair and equitable remedy for what has happened. We believe that the judge, Jim Crandall, at the trial court level failed to give us the opportunity to choose between future damages or the hangar. In his mind, getting the $700,000 pre-damages, in his mind also included the post future damages, which ended up being 1.2. In his mind, that seemed like a lot, and that was enough. Therefore, no specific performance. And that was not ever clear to him in his mind or in our mind that that's what he was thinking. We thought, hey, you know what? If it comes down to it, specific performance is more valuable to us than the $500,000. give up the $500,000 and get the specific performance back. That's what we're asking for. Air Combat USA's survival is at stake here. We cannot operate anywhere other than Fullerton Airport in the local Orange County, LA area, period. It's not to say that we couldn't operate and start all over again in Dallas-Fort Worth, but I'm not willing to move the company to Dallas-Fort Worth. I was born here. I have a right to choose where I live, and my home is 1 mile from the Fullerton Airport. That is a critical step to continuing this operation, to be able to be close to the airport and operate it where you can actually fly the missions and oversee what's going on there. Another critical part is how close the airport is to the practice area. It is exactly 25 miles from Fullerton Airport to the Palos Verdes Peninsula practice area, which is where we've operated for 30 years. Any place farther to the east, more than 25 miles. Any place farther to the north, more than 25 miles. So literally, there's only 2 or 3 airports that are within this ring, this circle between Palos Verdes Peninsula and 25 nautical miles, or 25 statute miles actually, but 25 miles from the area is the maximum distance. You start plotting out those airports that are available. We've tried them all. Long Beach, Santa Ana, have you seen the rent at those places? 14 times the price. Think about that. 14 times more expensive at Long Beach to replace what we have at Fullerton. I'll take Fullerton every day of the week. So please support us. Please call the city council. Ask them what they did to Air Combat USA at the Fullerton Airport. Ask them why they still have Brendan O'Reilly on the property making decisions down there for Fullerton. Clearly not a fan of aviation, trying to kill it. Ask them why they don't reinstate our lease for 30 more years at the 3815 West Commonwealth Avenue address in Fullerton, and why they don't evict Hangar 21 from the building that they wrongfully took from us. We all know that we're the rightful owner of that building, or the rightful tenant, I should say, of that hangar for the next 30 years. Now, Hangar 21 is an event business. They could operate anywhere. They fly helicopters. They don't even need an airport, if you think about it. How many R-44s have you seen operating from the side of the road at some beach community doing rides? They could totally rent a warehouse and fly that helicopter right off the parking lot. So do they even need Fullerton Airport? No, they don't. You know what they're doing? They're getting nice, cheap rent at Fullerton because it's a subsidized airport from the federal government, and that property, that land, is protected for aviation, and therefore it gets a lower rate than normal commercial property because aviation is expensive and it needs subsidy in order to survive. Air Combat USA cannot afford literally $19,000 a month to have a hangar facility at Long Beach. That's what it would cost us. And we need your help. So please, if you can, make a comment. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Please pray for Air Combat USA's survival. And mostly from the bottom of my heart, I hope you've enjoyed what we've done. This may be the end for Air Combat. So I'm Mike Blackstone. You've been watching Taking Flight, and we'll see you in the next episode.